We're going to turn now to a story about the power of a mother's love and the possibilities and limits of modern science. When her son was sick and there was no cure, this mom did not give up. Neither did her own personal superhero, a happy warrior named Henry. Meet Henry Strongin Goldberg. Born with an oversized spirit, a fascination for superheroes, and Fanconi anemia, a rare and deadly disease no medicine could cure. Doctors said he might never reach kindergarten.
Henry, can I have a kiss?
Eventually, his bone marrow would fail. Cancer would come next.
Here we are at our first Thanksgiving with our new little son.
Hospital stays were Henry's normal life, but they didn't define him or depress him. He was always inspiring.
The best coping mechanism is being around Henry, because Henry is just amazing, and you cannot be angry about the hand we've been dealt when you're around him.
Henry's best hope, a bone marrow transplant from a close genetic match. So his parents traveled to the edge of science and some say morality with this plan: genetically engineer a perfect donor for Henry. It's called pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. Doctors choose and implant embryos without the disease. Laurie would then undergo in vitro fertilization. If the IVF was successful, doctors would use stem cells from the new baby's umbilical cord to create bone marrow for Henry.
It was the silver bullet. It solved all of our problems.
9 times she tried, 9 times the IVF process failed. As a last resort, they tried a bone marrow transplant from an anonymous donor. Henry's body rejected it. Soon after, he passed away, just 7 years old. In her eulogy, Laurie recalled what she'd learned from her son.
Henry taught me what was important and what just didn't matter at all. And he taught me to savor each moment, to love, to laugh, and to dwell in possibility.
And in that spirit of possibility, she started Hope for Henry, a foundation for children with serious illnesses.
When Henry passed away, Laurie did something that many parents can't do, which is get up in the morning and decide that she was going to make the lives of other children better.
Honoring Henry with parties.
Love your face painting. It's so cool. Thank you.
And the superheroes he loved.
To know that, you know, through all of this cancer and through all of this sickness, it touches my heart to know that these people care.
And Henry's mom, Laurie Strongin, the author of a new book called Saving Henry, joins us now. And you know, I just started the book yesterday, and Henry captured my heart right at the start. That story of his birthday date with his best girlfriend, Bella.
Yeah, he was an incredible child. I mean, just so happy and filled with love of life and all those. He knew how to live, and he knew how to find the joy in every day, sort of wherever his circumstance.
I also love that image you have in the book of him. Whenever he had to get a blood test, he would pull out his swords and say, "Bring it on."
Bring it on.
But this
get it over with.
This was a real struggle.
Yeah.
And you went through this in vitro fertilization to have another child so that you could have a bone marrow transplant for Henry. And this was not without controversy either. A lot of people look at this and say, this doesn't feel right. How could you do this? And you say to them,
how could you not? How could you not? Really, the only hope for Henry was for us to have another child who would be healthy and free of the disease that threatened Henry's life, and also who was an HLA match to him and whose stem cells from the umbilical cord blood could be used for a stem cell transplant to save his life. I mean, we were replacing luck, essentially, with certainty to save his life.
You tried 9 times to get pregnant, and at the same time, the doctor who was helping you, a government doctor using government grants, actually was fired because he broke the law which prohibited any research on embryos.
Right, and the truth of the matter is that he actually, although he had worked at NIH, he had set up a private lab using private funding to do this life-saving work, and really was accused of using public funds, but he wasn't. He was really working in the private sector to do extremely noble and important life-saving work.
That must have driven you crazy when he was fired.
Yeah, I mean, it was so wrong, and it was at a time where I think we saw a lot of political interference with science, and it was very difficult, particularly since my son's life was caught in the crosshairs of this fight. But he was a resilient doctor too, and an incredibly ethical, brave man, and he relocated his lab to a place where there was no government interference with his work, and proceeded with his work to save Henry's life.
And what's the state of the science right now?
Yeah, I mean, we were early pioneers, sort of out on. It seemed almost like science fiction that you could use pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to save 2 lives at once, essentially. Now, I mean, that was in 1995. It was a long time ago in science, and now this procedure is working and it's saving lives. And just 2 days ago, I got an email from a woman who had read Saving Henry, and she said, "Thank you for being a pioneer. I am holding my 3-week-old baby who was born a perfect match for my daughter, and we saved her cord blood, and she's going to save her big sister's life." Thank you.
The book is so immediate and so real.
Yeah.
It feels what it was like to be part of your family. Was it hard to write?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I wrote it in stages. So the part about PGD, when we were sort of on these medical front lines, I wrote while I was going through it. So it reads almost like this unraveling adventure, this quest, and you're with us, and it's very immediate. And even when I read it now, I think, oh, come on, it's got to work the 6th time, the 7th time. I mean, it really feels like you're there with us. But other pieces, I mean, I really started to tie the whole story together after Henry died. And so in some ways, the most poignant parts of the book, like the piece that you talked about, Henry with his girlfriend Bella, I wrote that after he died, and it was, you know, his death seemed so irrational in the face of this exuberant child so filled with love. And in some ways, it was so beautiful to revisit that part of his life where he was so filled with life and love. But it makes me miss him. So, I mean, I miss him so much.
Well, of course you do. I miss him. I never even met him. But a lot of good has come from your telling the story. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you.
You can read a lot more about it on our website at abcnews.com.